This is SOS Cinema. Today we're watching Hereditary. It's a movie that came out in 2018. It's a horror film. I'm Andrew Seelig.
I'm Nicholas Pisconti.
And I'm Stephen Dwyer.
So this movie is about a little creepy little girl.
Pretty disgusting looking.
Yeah. So pretty much they're just like a normal family. They're not a normal family at all. They're actually really weird. And it starts off at their grandmother's funeral, and apparently the grandmother is the worst person that was ever born, according to her daughter. She's like, hey, she's very stubborn. She like doesn't like people. She's very odd. I thought it was a little unnatural. I feel like at a funeral you say nice things, but apparently no.
Yeah, I think it definitely weirded me out too, because the beginning, because the mom and the grandmother had bad relationship, and she even makes a note of saying that she left her son away, but when the daughter came around, they instantly gravitated toward each other. So you can already see there's like a weird relationship between the weird grandma and the weird daughter that likes to click.
Yeah, it was just awkward funeral, I thought. Unsettling.
I would agree.
One thing to point out in the funeral is that the creepy little girl named Charlie, she bit into a Hershey bar as if it was a granola bar. She's bit into it, and she didn't take the piece out. She's bit into it. No tears, just looked at her dead grandmother, just ate a chocolate bar, and then walked out.
Without even breaking the pieces off.
It's kind of like Satanist type things from the start. Who doesn't break off a piece of their like
you can
Hershey
tell
bar?
You can tell the vibe pretty early on.
Definitely.
Honestly, at the very beginning when it just like starts you off, and I think it shows the treehouse first, and then it goes into the window, into the house, and you got the dollhouse, and it zooms in. And I'm gonna be honest, I started watching this movie last night at like 1 a.m. and I saw that dollhouse, and I was like, nope, not doing this tonight. I want to sleep tonight. I'm okay.
Yeah, the movie actually, I said the movie started out at the funeral, but it actually started a little before that as they were zooming into a dollhouse, which I'm not really sure what that meant. Want to get into that later, or is that like...
I mean, we can touch on it briefly here a little bit, without spoiling any, like, too much as we get into it.
By the way, if you haven't seen the movie, watch it before. We were kind of going through the movie sequentially, but yeah, go.
Definitely. Yeah, so without giving too much about the end of the movie, but you can kind of see in specific scenes that the dollhouse is in, that when the dollhouse is in the scenes, the rooms that are lit up are the rooms that the people in the family are actually in, which is kind of interesting. So it's like, so it's just weird because the mom makes the dollhouse and makes all these things, but it low-key has its own spirit, like energy about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
What's the kind of doll that, like...
Victorian.
Huh. Wait, what?
The drama dolls or something like that?
No,
Voodoo.
the voodoo, it kind of had a voodoo doll vibe. Even though
Yeah, voodoo vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Because it zooms in, and I love that shot, actually. They zoom into the kid's bedroom, Peter, and then it's actually him waking up.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're like just puppets.
Kind of gives me like
exactly.
Krampus vibes. If you guys have seen that.
I
When they
have.
zoom into the igloo.
Krampus.
But yeah, similar to that for sure.
Also, right after the funeral, I kind of noticed this. When the mother was talking to Charlie, she's like, "Charlie, are you okay?" And she goes like, I forget exactly what she said, but the mother, she went, but like, she said, the mother said, "You were her favorite," and then Charlie responds, "She wanted a boy." And the first time I watched that, I thought nothing of it, but
As we'll discover later on.
talk about that a little later on.
Pretty important for sure.
Pretty important fact. I watched the second time. I was like, whoa.
Also, kind of want to bring something up to y'all. Just get your opinions on it, but not even like. I'll phrase it this way: if you were growing up with Charlie in your house, and you witnessed some of the bizarre things that were happening with her, because if you notice, like her brother, her mom, and her dad, like kind of don't even like acknowledge that she's off. Like she's weird.
Oh, dude,
for
she's
sure.
So weird. I knew she was possessed right off the bat.
Yeah. Like, what would, like, if that was your sister, like, I would not feel comfortable, like, sleeping in the same
Cutting
house.
heads off of birds with scissors.
Yeah.
Making these dolls.
I'd be like, "Hey, Charlie."
Those were, like, literally not even voodoo dolls, but just, like, pagan dolls that she had.
I'd be like, "Hey, my little sister Charlie, want to go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal?" And she'd be like, "No, I want to kill birds." And then I'd be like, "Okay, let's kill some birds." And then I'd drive her straight to the adoption agency.
Yeah. I think, that's either the adoption agency is a good spot or, like, the fire station is
I
also
agree.
another good one.
I think she's a little old for the fire station. She might kill everyone there. She's a little creepy little girl.
Yeah.
But Anyway, another thing is the mother, when she was walking through the old grandmother's house, her room, she saw a note about sacrifice, like we need to make some sacrifices. Obviously, I knew it was going to happen, some kind of crazy shit. It was a horror movie, like, come on, we all know what's going to happen.
Right.
Someone was
Also,
gonna
I
die.
think that's another thing, too, is pretty cool about this movie, is that you're kind of introduced to the fact that the mom, at least, is involved in some cult. Like, right from the start, you're introduced to that. Like, we're aware of the fact that she's got her own, like, traditions and, like, weird group of friends that she chills with.
I honestly did not pick that up until the second time I watched the movie.
Okay.
But
Wait, the mom or the
grandma? Sorry.
okay.
The grandma,
I thought you
yeah.
were talking about the grandmother, but we'll get more about the mother later on at the end.
Yeah.
What I think about her.
Yeah. But yeah, the grandma, she said at the funeral, like, she led a very private life. There was that line, she goes, I honestly feel guilty talking about her
Right.
in front of you because she just kept everything so private.
Yeah.
And, like, clearly it was because she had some interesting stuff going on behind the curtains.
We touched on it once briefly, but so I think the first weird scene that we see is the bird scene at school when Charlie's out at recess and just like cuts the head off the bird.
No, but first, remember, she makes the bird. I don't know if she does, but like, literally the teacher's like, stop working on your doll, finish the quiz first.
Oh, right.
And the music starts playing, and she like looks, and then the bird slams into the window and kills itself.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh my god, and she just stands.
She's like
keeps
unfazed.
sitting there. She's like,
Also, I don't know if you guys picked this up, but you know Joanne?
yes.
So Joanne's the one that Annie goes to see. Annie's the mom. Annie goes to see her kind of for like consolation.
Yeah.
Later on we'll get into why. But I don't know if you guys realize, but right off the start of the movie when she's going for the bird, Joanne's actually across the yard or across the street looking at Charlie from the start.
I knew someone was looking at her. I didn't know.
That was Joanne,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Which
Oh
is
my
like
God.
really interesting. So, I mean, we're going to delve deeper into that, but you can tell that there's like, I mean, this isn't even like, I mean, we'll get to this deeper, but Joanne was one of the grandmother's friends, and like for her to be there from the start just watching, you can tell there's something off about this girl.
Yeah, and I just want to say something that was really off about the family. I remember when Father Steve got the job, the call from the graveyard, about something happening to the graveyard, and
That's later on, right?
no, it was like kind of early on in the movie. It was after it was like first.
Oh, to the grandma's grave, right?
yeah,
Okay.
he
Yeah,
got
the
a
grave
call,
gets desecrated.
and the grave getting desiccated, and like he's like, oh, that's like he acted like it was no big deal. Like obviously, like a little odd. You just gotta communicate that to your wife. I think. Also,
I
the
feel
things,
like it was him that did it.
yeah, it might have. Yeah,
See
it
that?
was a little weird. Maybe honestly, he was a little too chill.
I mean, their whole family vibe is just like really strange too, because after the death, and I mean, moving a little bit forward, but we see that the Annie, right? That's right.
Who?
The mom.
Yes.
Yeah, Annie goes up to Peter and is like, "Why don't you take Charlie out to the high school party that you're going to?" And
Go
like,
back a little bit. Then we
No,
went to that.
okay.
Before we get into that, real quick, when the father got the call from the graveyard, Annie, the mother, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to the movies," and throughout the movie, she keeps saying, "I'm going to the movies and going to the grief therapy." But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of weird acting, weird like setup. How do you go to the movies like that much and not even ask, "Yo, what movie did you go to?" Like it was kind of like their family just does not communicate.
Well, I
I
Right?
could just said I'm going to grief therapy.
right.
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
honestly, what that was is just that the husband and wife maybe just didn't have a communicative relationship at that point, you know, and
Didn't
didn't
seem
want to
right.
ask, don't tell type of deal. Like you just didn't really care, you know,
Yeah, it was
going through their own
I
grief
thought it was
processes.
odd. Like the whole way they talked was just very weird.
Right.
Also, go back to what you're talking about the party when Alex asked for the car. Like, first of all, he said he was going to a school barbecue
Yeah, he told her.
at night.
School
First of
barbecue.
all,
Yeah,
and then like the mother knew there was gonna be booze. So why did she tell the daughter, like, "Hey, bring the creepy little devil child"?
she's
And
definitely
she's 13.
she's
too.
13. Yeah, she's not even in high school. Like really
So
strange.
bizarre.
Also, really interesting too, because Peter doesn't even put up a fight, and Peter's not even like no. Like I mean, he does say like, "Did you even ask Charlie if she wants to go?" But kind of just like,
He
okay,
doesn't
whatever.
want
Like
to
I'll
be mean
take
to
her.
his sister, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're off. They're off the whole
And
family.
honestly, like to have your little sister be there at a party, and I know that like he's kind of the stoner guy. He has that vibe about him, but you have this like little sister at a party, and you know there's
Terrible
like
position
something
to put yourself in.
right, and you know that there's something off about her though. From like he must have like you can tell from the beginning just watching her in the beginning there's something off.
She's allergic to peanuts.
She's
That's
allergic to
what's wrong
peanuts.
with
Like,
her.
why would this man not keep an eye on her at least throughout like a little bit, or like go at least go up to one of his friends at the party and be like, "Yo, can you keep an eye on my sister?"
For real.
Or like actually keep an eye on her.
I love how they tossed that in the beginning. Just like she bites the chocolate bar. in the funeral, like you were saying. And honestly, when she bit into that, I could have sworn it sounded like a Crunch bar with nuts in it. And the dad's like, "Is there nuts in that?"
Right.
And he says that in the first 5 minutes. You're just like, "Oh, well, that's gonna come into play."
Right.
I mean, like, what would you like? What if someone brought their little sister to a party? That's just like socially weird. Like, you don't bring your little sister to a party.
Oh, for sure.
This kid is clearly socially weird.
And then the first thing he does when he goes to the party is he goes up to like the girl and he goes, "You want to smoke some weed? I got the best weed." Like, I don't know. Like, it was just socially awkward. They're trying to fit in way too hard. But
Definitely.
like, he's just that weird kid bringing his sister to the party. So really weird.
Well, he's got bigger and brighter plans.
Also, also that true. That too, and also he grew up from some really weird parents, so that didn't help.
Yeah. Although I don't know. I mean, maybe Charlie's got her own thing going on, but also, how didn't Charlie? This is my little hunch. Because as we get on throughout the film's like length, I think we'll come to see this too. But I think Charlie knew there was peanuts in that cake. Like. I think like, she looks at it and like she knows what's good. She's seeing like them cutting off slices. She saw it. Like there was like nuts on top of that cake.
She's 13. She's not stupid.
Right. She's not. It's not like she's like 6 or like 5. Like she knows. I think she ate that shit on purpose.
Didn't he tell her to get a piece of cake?
He did. Yeah, for sure.
She was just like, yeah.
But he like I mean,
fulfill the prophecy.
If your sibling went up to you and was like, and you had a peanut allergy, was like, go eat these walnuts, and like just to get rid of you, and you're like, okay, would you like go up and eat them? Like I don't think that like anyone that was aware of their allergy would necessarily put themselves in a position or not even ask someone, be like, hey, is there nuts in this? So that leads me to think that like maybe she knew, and I think she did it on purpose. She ate the cake.
That's an interesting take.
Are we moving to what happens next at this point?
Man.
Sure, yeah. So, let's get into it.
Want to talk about it?
Everyone's, if you're listening, you've seen it, so you know what happens. Personally, I don't know about you guys. I mean, like, I don't know if I looked up the actual background of the demonic possession of what happens like in the movie, and one of the things they talked about was like you need to sacrifice a girl, but they said beheading had nothing to do with like the real thing, like people were like actual Satanists and shit. But yeah, I just think she would have died anyways if she didn't get her head knocked off.
So I have like a little
just to summarize real quick,
EpiPen.
In case you haven't watched.
I feel like they're in the middle of nowhere.
Pretty much,
hospital's pretty far away.
She's choking on the chocolate because she's allergic, and then Alex drives her fast to the hospital. Peter. Yeah, that's Alex and Wolf, the Naked Brothers band man. So he drives her to the hospital real quick, sees a dog on the road, swerves off. The daughter has her head out the window, or Charlie has her head out the window so she could breathe, and he
clips a pole.
Her head falls off. Really weird.
Really messed up. But honestly,
I gotta say this real quick before you get to your thought.
Yeah.
Usually when stuff like that happens in movies, I feel really bad. I knew this person was possessed, so like I knew like she wasn't even a little girl; she was just a devil. So I didn't even feel for it, honestly. So
interesting. So the point where you said that it normally isn't a beheading, and the reason why I think they did this is so I also did like a little bit of research and looked it up. So Payman, one of the 8 kings of hell, they say that he's a man, but he has a very feminine face. So I'm guessing that's like a little bit of like a illusion, or like I don't know if illusion is the right word, but like I think they were trying to bring it back to that point where like her head gets cut off, she's a girl. So I think it's his feminine face kind of making a tribute to that.
Yeah, perhaps.
But yeah, I don't know. So going into this further though, I mean, anyone who just is like kind of somewhat responsible for the death of their sibling is gonna be like traumatized and in shock for sure.
Yeah, never recover from that.
The way that Peter handles that situation couldn't have been any worse in my opinion. Like just like shuts his brain down. He's like, I'm going upstairs. I do not care. I'm going to bed. And obviously doesn't sleep.
Waking up
to those screams. Oh my god, the blood curdling like screams of his parents.
Brutal.
Gosh, that's like the biggest thing for me too is like whether or not you think the movie's scary, it's just genuinely so unsettling at so many points. It's unnerving.
Yeah. It's unsettling because what's his name?
Peter.
Throughout like the first part of the movie, he had like a whole like coming of age kind of vibe character.
Right.
But like he was kind of flirting with that girl a little bit, and like his life was pretty chill. And then
it went
from like 100 to awesome, great, pretty normal life.